How is your virtual learning going in your household? 3.
Hi all, if everybody could just mute themselves. I'm going to start the meeting in just 2 minutes. There is a fun survey up. You don't have to take it. The results will be reviewed later. But as we can see, there's still a bunch of people popping in. So I'm going to start at 4:08 and we'll begin with the presentation.
On us, not on them.
It's not.
Please use the microphone to mute yourself, either by your picture or on the right-hand side.
You're on mute, no?
I think so. No sense.
Why are we whispering? I said, if you say rank.
100% sure that's on you. I'm not either. So
I am.
I just muted them. Hello all, welcome to the presentation for the parents for Denville Board of Education. We wanted to put up this fun question, give you something to do while we waited for everybody to join. So I just wanted to take a minute to let you do that. And if you would please just make sure that everybody is muted so that we don't talk over each other and we don't have feedback and we don't hear noises in the background. So I'm going to move to the next slide. And while I do that, in the chat section, you'll be able to access a link to go over that, to answer those questions if you didn't have a chance. We are going to take questions from the chat. We are not going to take interactive questions. What we'll do is someone will read the questions at the end. So if you have any questions, please be sure to put them into the chat window so that we can make sure we get to as many as we can within the next hour. So this is some of the directions that we give to our students. You'll see more of them later. When you enter the Meet or the Hangout, mute yourself if you're not already muted. When you have a question, as I just said, type them in the comment box. And you'll again see our email addresses, but these are the 4 people that will be presenting to you today. So I have listed their email addresses here so that you can access them. You can send us emails with further questions if you come up with any now or you happen to think of any after the meeting. So I'm just going to go over the agenda quickly so that we're all on the same page. And I still have some people joining the meeting. And for those that are joining now, please just be sure that you mute yourselves. And we went over the general meeting guidelines. The introductions for the meeting are that I will be, I'm sorry, let's go back here. I will be presenting. My name is Cindy Costanza. I'm the District Technology Manager. I am Google Administrator. I have my Google Administrator certification. Kim Novak is here with us. She's the Technology Assistant, and she will help with some of my presentation. And she is a Google Certified Educator Level 2. And then we have Jen Falavino, who is a teacher at Valley View Middle School and also has Google certifications and has been a strong part of Google in Denville since the beginning. Then we have Renee Sudol, who's a Riverview teacher. She also is a district technology coach and helps all of us with the apps, with Google Classroom, and she goes around to the schools to assist. She has her educator level 1, level 2, and she is also a Google certified trainer. We'll then go over some general technology information, which I'll jump into in a couple minutes. I wanted to mention that phone calls, you may receive phone calls from our staff and they may come from blocked or restricted numbers. So I just wanted to let you know that, as I know a lot of times people don't answer those phone calls. So watch out for that and watch out to make sure that you can reach the people that are trying to reach you. You can have a conversation with them. In addition to, I still have a few people jumping in and out, so I'm sorry that I may be breaking away from you here and there. Excuse me. So the, why is that going backwards? Okay. Student email. We've had questions about student email, and we've had people try to use student email. The student email, 6th through 8th grade, has student emails. They are only allowed to email within the @denville.org domain. So if you're sending your student an email from your Gmail account or your work account, they will not receive that. You will receive a bounce notification. That is not telling you that their email is not working. It is just that for their protection and privacy, we don't allow them to receive emails from external sources. I'm sorry, just a few more people jumping on. Please make sure that you mute yourself when you join the meeting. Okay, our elementary students do not have email, and if I can understand a lot of people have asked a question about this. There's a few different, we are trying to make sure we follow some rules and regulations and don't provide email at such a young age. In addition, especially with the distance learning, we're trying to keep the information centralized for the students so that they're not going to email and classroom and wherever else they have to go. All their information should be being shared with you through Classroom. And of course, you can yourself email parents, teachers, and you know, anybody that you need to get in touch with to facilitate your students' work. Right now, I'm going to spend a couple minutes. I'm going to go right from my agenda into Mrs. Falavino's presentation. But right now, I'm going to spend a couple minutes talking about Meet and Hangouts. And if Mrs. Novak feels the need to jump in, she's quite good at that as well. So I invite her to join me in this meeting. Most of the meetings that your students will be invited to are similar to this meeting. You will go to meet.google.com or a link provided to you by the staff member that your student will be meeting with. We are also going to a new way of doing it where your student will go directly to meet.google.com and will be provided with a nickname for that meeting. They will just have to enter that nickname, and as long as the teacher is in the meeting, they will be able to join the meeting. And that's how most of it will be done. Hangouts was what we used to use and was a little bit different, but Google has made a lot of changes very quickly for education to help us in this situation, which has moved us more towards Meet than to continue down the road with just Hangouts. Again, as people are entering, please be sure that you mute your audio so that we don't have any feedback or interruptions in the meeting. And also, you can certainly ask your questions in the comments section, and we will review those questions at the end of the meeting. Okay, so that's how the teachers may use Hangouts to call you. That will come up as a restricted number. We still use Hangouts from that perspective. We can use it internally for chat and those types of things. The students cannot currently start their own meets or should not start their own meets. Just because it's an unsupervised area, recess without teachers, so to speak. So that's why people have inquired, since there is this social distancing and kids are missing their friends and, you know, want to see each other. So, you know, at this time, we are trying to make Google our main focus. We're moving away from other conferencing services. So I will now turn this over. Please ask me any questions in the chat, and I will be happy to answer those questions as soon as Mrs. Falavino and Ms. Sudol finish their presentation. I will be happy to answer those questions at the end of the presentation. So I'm going to stop sharing, and Mrs. Falavino will take over with our survey results.
Okay. Okay, I'm just going to take a moment now to share some of the survey results with you. So if we take a look here, it's just something a little fun to do. We've got the first one, and actually looks like everybody's feeling pretty confident. It looks like for most of them, we are somewhere between 3 and above, somewhere over 30%. As far as how virtual learning is going in your household, your level of comfort using Google Classroom, we have 37% feeling like they've got it. Your child's level of comfort at about 26%, so 40% at a 4, which is great. And then Google Meet, we had at 46%, which is excellent. And your child's comfort level there is also at 36. So that's a lot better than we really could have expected at this point, especially because Google Meet is something that's very new to all of the students. So I'm going to switch gears now to
Mrs. Falvino, it's Mrs. Costanza. They have asked that if you could enlarge your screen. I guess they're having trouble seeing the presentation.
Is that better now?
I wasn't having an issue. So if the person who made that request can answer, that would be great. Okay, I guess we're good, Mrs. Falvino.
I think it's because we were sharing the survey results live. So
Yeah.
now I'm in the presentation.
Yes, it's good now.
Okay, so I just want to take a moment. Well, first of all, thank you all for being so patient and flexible with us. Your teachers and administrators, got thrown into this just as quickly as you all did, and we know that there's quite a learning curve. So we've been grateful at your ability to work with us. So I'm going to share the experience of the middle school student primarily. I've been using Google Classroom for some time now, and my students in my classroom are very confident with it. And I think the reality is most of the middle school students are much more confident than the elementary students would be. So I'm going to go through this, focusing primarily on middle school, and then we'll get into some of the more detailed explanation when we talk about the elementary, speak to the elementary group. And we'll make sure that these are all available. So it's a kind of a step-by-step tutorial. If you're not setting it up right now, it doesn't make sense to go through step-by-step. So I'll give an overview, and if you have questions, put them into the chat, and we will we'll address them at the end of the presentation. So the first thing I want to talk about is the guide or the contract that some teachers are calling it for the middle school. So when we initially started this, we had some fun with the kids, and they were sort of enjoying seeing each other in the Google Meet. And now we have to get down to actually coming up with a way to instruct when you're talking to anywhere from 20 to potentially 60 kids in a Meet session. So similar to how we have ourselves set up now, we ask the students to stay muted. They enter their questions in the text box, and then either the teacher can call on them to unmute themselves and ask it live, or the teacher can go back at the end and address them later on as we're doing here. That's really important for sound quality. It's not just the chatter in the back, but also the sound quality, because with too many people on, it becomes impossible to hear. We do ask that everybody's patient, that the students look into the camera. So if parents could assist with that, that would be great. A lot of times, because we're home, everybody gets distracted. I have a toddler myself. I try to keep her out of the room, but we all have dogs and kids and little siblings running around. We try to make sure that we can keep a quiet space where they can focus on the screen and look directly into the camera, just as they would in the classroom, to indicate that they're paying attention. And of course, always being courteous to their peers as they would in any setting. I do want to point out, I spoke with Mr. Corman several times the last couple of days about this. We are looking to move more to Google Meet middle school level starting next week. So you should receive information about that in Friday folders. But basically, when your middle school child checks into homeroom in the morning, indicating that they're here for the day, the expectation is if a teacher posts a Google Meet session, they will be about a half hour long. Some of them may run less, but they're scheduled to be a half an hour. If your child is scheduled to be in a Google Meet and they are attending school that day, the expectation is that they're in, that it's not an option. At this point, teachers are using those to instruct. Now that the marking period's ending, we're starting to move into new units, and a lot of this information now is going to be new material. So it's really important that they're focused and present. I do want to start going over just the basics of Google Classroom, how to get in. Oftentimes we have, the biggest complaint I've ever received from parents is that they feel like they can't access the information. So you're used to your child coming home with papers and things to sign and something that you can look at, and now you don't really have that. So there are other ways to do this, but our recommendation now is going to be to make sure that you're signed in as your child. So in that way, you can make sure you get all notifications from the teachers, when things are posted, when things are due, if something's been returned, if there's a comment on something, all of that is now visible to you if you're logged in. Just make sure that in the upper right-hand corner, that's my Seton Hall logo, Go Pirates. Make sure that you're logged in as your student, because I know a lot of them most of them are using Chromebooks, but a lot of them are using their own personal devices at home, or perhaps your personal device. Make sure that you're not logged in and your child is. And then you have the Google waffle, they refer to it as, which is your app menu, which drops down the apps available, and then at the bottom, the Google Classroom icon. Once you get into Google Classroom, this is my setup, so it's all going to be social studies classes. However, your child should have all of their classes that they're currently enrolled in on that page. This acts essentially as a virtual agenda. So you have the opportunity to see any upcoming assignments they will automatically post. When a teacher changes a date or a time, that will automatically replicate to this screen. So you shouldn't have to go into each class to see what to do that day or what's coming due that week. And you can locate an enlarged agenda or an enlarged calendar by clicking on the menu to the left there. And if you go to calendar, you'll have two options. It will open up either your classroom calendar, the current class that you're in, which is the sample at the top. That'll just be their social studies class. Or you can use the drop arrow to change it so that you then see assignments. I know at the middle school level, the thing that takes the most adjusting to for the students that I've spoken to at length is the amount of work and learning how to balance that essentially as an independent study. So this calendar perspective is definitely useful to them for planning their time and seeing their long-term and short-term assignments. The next page you're going to see if you go into the classroom is going to be this main page. So you have your menu of classes in the upper left-hand corner that you can click and see all of your classes from that initial page. It'll indicate the class that you're in. We do recommend, so it's going to always open up to the stream. I'm not quite sure why, but this acts almost like a news feed, and it gets very confusing, because if the teacher is posting things repetitively like they are now, you're going to get a long list of things that are due and announcements and reminders. So what you want to do immediately is to click from that number 3 into number 4 and go right to classwork. Classwork will bring up a different screen that has it all kind of broken down for you. So,
Mrs. Falavina?
Yes.
I'm not sure if it's a different screen that you're projecting from, but the slides are not showing. It's just still showing the survey results.
None of them are showing?
No. And we're getting a lot of chats saying the same.
I can see them.
Hold on. I just saw that somebody tried presenting, so that might be one of the reasons.
No, that may have been why.
Yeah.
Somebody jumped on and presented.
Are you seeing my whole screen now?
We see it.
Okay, so let me just pull up this slide here. You see the full screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I saw that pop up that somebody tried to present, so I think that might have shifted it. Okay. Like I said, the stream, you'll see kind of the updates currently, but what you want to do really when you get to that page is click on number 4. When you go to classwork, this is what you'll see. And this is really a breakdown. Again, your students are they are confident seeing this. So,
But this may be.
looking at this for the first time, it definitely can be overwhelming. And you'll always be able to go back and reference this if you're trying to figure out what's what. But basically, you'll see a list of topics, and that'll be topics from the entire year to the left, like under number 5. 3 and 4 up in the upper right, you'll always have access to that calendar. The Google Drive folder will be all of the class work. So anything from the social studies class all year will be in that folder. It automatically populates to their Google Drive. You'll see the difference between different types of posts. So you'll see the first one there is a question mark. That's a direct question that they can answer right in there. Whereas under number 6 and 7, you'll see the different types of assignments. Number 7 is an assignment that has an attachment. It has a due date. At the point of this image, it shows that it was assigned, but it hasn't yet been turned in. And then you can click on the bottom on View Assignment to enlarge it so that your screen is just showing that assignment and not all of the other noise in the background. Probably the most important thing I would say for parents to be concerned with, especially in middle school, is this list here. So you can always click on View Your Work. That's number 2 on the previous slide and this one. So if you click on View Your Work, it's going to bring up this list. It's going to be every assignment that's ever been posted in that Google Classroom. It's important to note that this can get a little overwhelming because, especially now for the first time,
ఇది వేరే వస్తుంది కదా జెన్నిఫర్ ఈస్ ప్రెజెంటింగ్ అంటే కదా వీళ్ళ టీచర్ కాదుగా
but you're using this for the first time, and also if you're receiving emails for the first time, which I'll show you in a moment, understand that a lot of teachers just are using this right now as a platform to post information. So they may not necessarily be grading every assignment. They may not even be asking students to turn in every assignment. It may just be a reference. And so be cautious of the posting and what it's asking you, what it's showing. So if it's saying there's filters on the left here, it'll show you either turned in, returned, or missing. If it's showing turned in, obviously, it's been turned in. I would still recommend, however, if you're seeing a 0 or you're seeing something in Genesis, that there's a problem with the assignment, click on the assignment, because what we find is that when students are late or not getting their work done, sometimes they'll turn in the blank assignment. So if they turn in something blank or they turn in something incomplete, it will show that it's turned in, but it's not actually completed. So as a parent, that's something that you want to be cautious of. Like I said, they can turn in blank documents, incomplete work. The other thing is, and I'll show you on the next slide here, that students do have the ability to mark something as done when it may not be. So the other thing that you might see there is a check mark, just showing that the teacher has seen it, but maybe it wasn't necessarily a grade. And then, of course, just missing. So this is the part that parents also want to take note of. This is what it will look like when your child is trying to turn something in. So they can, when a teacher assigns something, they can assign the actual document. If that happens, they share a copy with each student. That means that as your child is going through that assignment over the course of a couple of days, a week, whatever it may be, the teacher can monitor that progress, regardless of whether or not the assignment has been turned in. If the teacher does not do that and the child has to create the assignment themselves, that's where you would see the A, B, and C that are noted there. Where the assignment is posted there, they add or create, and they can determine if they want to pull something in from their drive for another file, or if they want to create a document right in the assignment that will then automatically post there. Just take note at the side on the right there that, again, that's the place where students can either mark something as done when it may or may not be done, or they can unsubmit. So in that case, it will indicate that it's been turned in late. I know for me, a lot of times I'll tell students to unsubmit something, because the good thing is that, especially if they're absent or they need to edit something, if it says turned in late, be cautious of kind of getting on their case for that one, because sometimes the teacher may ask them to unsubmit it, to edit it, and to turn it back in. The teacher can always see that record. So if a child turns in something on Monday and I ask them to fix it and turn it back in on Friday, it may show as late, but they've done the work and I can see a record of when they've removed it and added it back in. I know that the district has provided this, and we do have this available on our technology, in our technology resources, but parents can sign up for that notification. So you can sign up to get notifications weekly, or I think you can even check it as daily. But again, just be aware that when that comes in, it's going to show turned in, checked off, and you always want to be a little bit cautious of that, to always ask to see the work. Just as you would any other time. I mean, if a student has an assignment and you want to see the grade, ask them to see the document. That you absolutely do have access to every document that they've ever created. So please don't think that you can't access their work just because they're doing it electronically in Google Classroom. You definitely can. Okay, and I'm going to shift the presentation now to our focus on elementary.
Ms. Sudol, are you able to present and share your screen and take over the presentation for Mrs. Falavino?
I am here. Can you see my screen?
I think
Yes.
we're good.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to full screen now. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. I hope everyone's staying safe and healthy. My part of the presentation is just to go over some of the guidelines for the elementary school parents. And really, it's an anatomy of the Google Classroom for the elementary school children and their parents. So what I would like to share with you is the navigation system. When people log into Google Classroom, once a child logs in, you're going to see a couple different things. Obviously, Ms. Valavino spoke about a couple of these things already. You have the main menu, which are the 3 lines, the stream, which I'll go into greater detail in a little bit, the Classwork tab, the People tab, and then of course, that's what we call the Google app launcher, or you may have your children, you'll hear them calling it the waffle. The main menu is great. That's the left sidebar in Google Classroom, and it gives you an overview. So the top part is the gives you the icon for the classes. You can click and obtain the calendars for the classes in this portion. We're going to talk a little bit more about the to-do, which is an overview. Here are your classes, and then of course, if there are any archive classes your child was participating in, that might show up there, as well as settings, which is to turn on or off notifications. So the to-do, what the to-do is an overview of the work and just kind of like an outline form, upcoming assignments, due dates, just to give your child an overview of what is happening for that week, what the assignments look like. The stream is the place where most of you will land when you log into Google Classroom. And what's nice about the stream is the teachers might be posting announcements or video. This is also a place where if the teachers have comments turned on, the students can write general comments to the teacher and the teacher is able to respond. That's the stream. The Student Classwork tab, this is where you get that outline view and it goes into more detail about the assignment. So the topics are listed on the left. The view your work icon is number 1. You can take a peek at that if there's a lot of assignments. The calendar, of course, is number 2. And then every Google Classroom creates a folder in your child's Google Drive. So that's where the information is organized and housed. And just to keep in mind, I know sometimes people start to compare Google Classrooms. Everybody, just like a classroom set up differently in the school, teachers are probably going to set up their Google Classrooms differently. Okay, the assignment work page is set up with a couple different things. Of course, the name of the assignment, when it's posted, if there's any directions, if a teacher has included a rubric, that would be attached. The assignment itself would be located in this part, as well as the due date, and then the status of the assignment. Going into more detail on the assignment page, if you click on View Assignment, now you're able to add an assignment. We'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide. Turn it in. And then this is a place where the teacher might also have given your child private comments. If something needs to be fixed, or if they're giving them a compliment on what a great job they did, this is a nice place to look to make sure that that information is there. Taking it a step further with the turn-in assignments, there's a lot of different features here. If a child has something in their Google Drive, they can then attach it by clicking on that option. If they're attaching a link to something they did online, that would be that option. File is to upload something that if you have on your computer, if you did a screenshot of the student's work, that's where they can upload. And then of course, they can then create from new, a doc, a slide, a sheet, or a drawing. So those are those options. The marking as done, so I know Mrs. Ballavino mentioned this, it's always important. A lot of children will mark it as done and have a completed assignment with it. But we ask that just always check to make sure that the child completed the work when they mark it as done, so they're not turning in a blank assignment. If something is not completed and the child says, oh no, you know, I need to fix this or add something, they can always click unsubmit, fix it, and then turn it back in. Okay, sometimes teachers will use an answer question assignment. This will pop up in the same thing in the Google Classroom as a question. There's usually a space provided to answer. Sometimes it's multiple choice. Sometimes they'll add a value, a point value. The children can then record their answer, type it in, click turn in, and then of course the private comments would be seen below. That would be just between the student and the teacher. So I know this has come up a lot, ways to communicate with teachers in Google Classroom, because at the elementary level, the email is not turned on. So these are just some quick things to think about. The stream, and that's that first screen you get to when you get to Google Classroom. This is a nice place, once the teacher has made an announcement, if the comments are turned on, the children are able to respond with a general question, but everyone is able to see that question and the teacher can respond to it there. Private comments are different. Private comments do not appear in the stream and they are only between the teacher and the student. So this, in order for the student to see the private comment or create a private comment, they must be in the assignment portion in Google Classroom. And we also ask, you know, for children to go back and revisit past assignments, because sometimes teachers are writing a, you know, a comment or giving them a compliment on what a great job they did, and they may miss that if they don't go back to those past assignments. And then the last couple of steps is just where will you see that view assignment? That is in the Google Classroom. There's underneath the directions and the activity, there's the view assignment option. And then, of course, this is where the private comment pops up. And just reiterating the fact that the private comment is only between the teacher and the student. Okay, thank you for your time and thank you for watching.
Hello, all. So what I'll do now is I wanted to show you, and I didn't present previously, but Mrs. Sudol, if you could stop presenting your screen, and I will pull up the Denville.org website, and I just wanted to show you really quickly, 1 second here, the Denville website. This is the website that I'm sure you've all seen before, the main page. If you go to this COVID-19 extended closure information, there you will find some of Mr. Forte's announcements. You will find resources, and under resources, there's some things from the Department of Health, some things for our nurses, and also some technology resources. We will also share our presentation from here. This is being recorded. We'll share that there. We'll share answers to questions there, but we will also put things in the news and we will put them in the Friday folder to draw your attention to them. But that is where you can find some of that information. And also, as we talked about contacting people, right off the district tab on the main website, there is District Key Communicators. And if you were to click on this, it would give you the principals, the vice principals, myself, nurses, and some key communicators in the district. And also underneath that is staff and administrator directory. And if you click on here, that will open a document that basically gives you everybody's contact information within the district. They have their extensions there. All the emails are forwarded, are followed by @denville.org. We have it this way so that it isn't, our website isn't scanned and bots aren't stealing our email addresses. It's just another way to try to keep our district safe from people sending us phishing emails or those kinds of things. Just an extra little step that we take. So I wanted to show you those things so that you had a upper on finding us and getting in touch with us as you need to. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. And what I'm going to do is go back to the questions. I will see which ones we are going to address, the questions that have to do with this meeting and how to use Google Classroom and the technology behind that. As far as questions around the curriculum or classes, those questions we will feed back to the administration, and there will be answers to those as well. So some of that we will pass off. So let me see. We have a lot of questions about muting. Let's see. As far as using Zoom and Hangouts and Meets, as I said, we didn't have Meets previously, so we were using Hangouts. Now that Google has opened Meets up to all educational facilities, that's what we are using. Prior, Meets wasn't there, so some people were using Zoom as well, but we are working to migrate everybody to using Meets. It's just that we want to make sure that everybody can have these sessions and meet, and we're just trying to get everybody on the same page with their educational, with their knowledge of these different products, because everybody has a learning curve here. These aren't something that we regularly use, because regularly we're, in the classroom with students. So that's that one. If you have any further questions on that, you can send an email. I know there was a question on emailing about technology issues. If you email parentportal@denville.org, any technology issue, even if it is a Google Classroom technology issue, we will see that in the technology department. And if we feel that we need the help from Mrs. Falvino or Ms. Sudol, we include them, and they can do a hangout with you and your student. They can do a hangout with you, your student, and your teacher, so that you can get to the bottom of any issues that you might be having within Hangouts. But send that in. We'll look it over. We'll see what we can do to assist, and then we will pass it along to them and arrange something if we need to. There's some scheduling questions that I'm going to leave for the administration to answer. When someone asked about the survey that was in the beginning of the presentation, it was just a fun survey about how comfortable you are with digital learning, and that was just something fun that we did while people waited for everybody to come on board. It wasn't anything urgent that needed to be filled out. I am not 100% sure what pre-K is using, so I'll pass that to the administration as well. And yes, we will have a recording of this meeting on the website that you can then revisit. Okay, as far as timing, we'll pass that to the administration. Let's see. Any tech issues, again, please email parentportal@denville.org. We are going to try to use Meet more often, because it is part of the Google G Suite. There is an important question here. Middle schooler is often expected to post pictures of her projects. Yet the camera feature has been disabled on the Chromebooks. The camera feature has not been disabled on the Chromebooks. So if you are having an issue with the camera on your child's Chromebook, please email parentportal@denville.org. Myself or some of the other technology members will check and see if there's anything with your particular student's account. We will then contact you. If it's not the account, we will arrange to switch out your Chromebook so that we can get that fixed for you. Okay. Again, any questions that are related to what actually is going to go on in the classroom, well, not in Google Classroom and meetings and those kinds of things, we'll refer that back to administration. And yes, the presentation applies to anybody using Google Classroom. There may be some differences for teachers and the different ways that teachers set their classroom up, but this does apply to everybody. And there may be more detail. Well, there certainly is more detail for a 8th grade student in Google Classroom than there may be for a kindergartner. I have a question regarding Classroom that either Ms. Falvino or Ms. Sudol may be able to answer. Is there a way to view the Classroom newest to older for our children's Google Classroom?
I'm sorry. I just addressed that one.
Okay.
There is a way to do that. So their Google Stream always shows up from most recent. So if they look in the Google Stream, they'll see what's been posted most recently. The problem that the kids have as well is that they tend to just jump in and click the first thing they see. And then if it's not what they're looking for, then they assume that they can't find it or they start scrolling down. So if there's an announcement, they want to use the stream first. But then if they're looking for a specific assignment or they need to go back, they can click on classwork and then navigate it through the topics and the assignment that they're specifically looking for. But the stream is always up to date.
Okay. Ms. Falvino, are there notifications queuing students to look at prior assignments if the teacher commented after completion, or do they have to check all past assignments on their own?
Yes, so I wrote something about notifications in there earlier. What happens is the students have the option of getting notifications within the app. So if they have it set up on their Chromebook to get notifications, they will receive any notifications that come in of comments that are posted. They can also set their emails to receive notifications. So they could check their email in the morning and get a list of all the notifications that teachers have sent in any class on any assignment. So there are 2 ways to get those notifications in real time without having to go back through each assignment.
So the question was asked about what about the elementary school because they don't have email set up. And, that's an excellent question. So there is no direct way. You're not getting a notification because the email's turned off. So the child would essentially have to go back and look at past assignments. I think the teachers are now, trying to make that as part of, their announcement in the morning to go back and look at previous assignments at the elementary level to see those comments and, to keep them up to date on how they're doing with their progress.
The other thing is they should receive those notifications in the app as well. So they can set it up to receive both notifications in app and notifications via email, or they can turn those off. But if they're in elementary school and they're using the app on the smart device, or whichever device they're using, they should be able to get those notifications.
Would they get notifications on the Chromebook as well, or only on a smart device such as an iPad or a?
I believe they get it on the Chromebook, but I'm going to double check that.
Okay. Okay. Chad doesn't use anything but a Chromebook. We will check into what different devices can get the notifications, and we'll get that out to you guys. And again, we will go through all these questions as a team and make sure that we either provide an answer here or possibly we will just present answer all these questions and attach a document with this recording. It may take a day or two for us to get this recording up because it is quite long and has quite a few people on it. So the recording may take a while to process, but we will get that up and definitely send you a link when that's available. I don't see any additional questions that we haven't addressed that are technology related or Google Classroom related. I thank you all for coming. I thank you all for your patience as the technology department pushes things out and as the teachers and the administration grab all that. And as we all try to work together, I hope you are all safe and healthy and somehow enjoying some of this extra time at home with your family. And if there's anything else from Miss Sudol or Miss Falvino or Miss Novak, I think we're in good shape.
I did just write in there that notifications can be set up on their Chromebooks. They just would have to go to the settings and make sure that I'm not sure what the default is on the elementary schools Chromebooks, but they can go into the settings, the little wheel, and once they're in the classroom, and they can set it to receive notifications.
Okay,
so
great. We'll make sure we put directions, specific directions on that. If you can make a note, Ms. Novak, to provide specific instructions on how people can do that. We'll make sure that's available soon.
Yes, definitely. I will do that.
Okay, great. All right. Well, I thank you all for joining us. I hope this was informative and gave you some comfort and information to help you. And I'm sure we'll do one of these again. Thank you all again for your support and see you soon.
Right. Stop it, okay? No more. Are you hungry? Don't eat snacks, okay?
Again, I want to thank everybody for your time. The meeting has come to an end and there will be a recording available in a few days. You can just push the little telephone button to hang up. Otherwise, you'll stay connected to the meeting. Have a great evening.